Okay, so we are live once again, and I have something special to unbox today. This is a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover. This is Decepticon Soundwave Dreadnok Thunder Machine. Soundwave is one of the more popular of the Decepticon characters. I would imagine he's probably like the third most popular Decepticon after Megatron himself and Starscream. I'm not even sure who would be more popular between Megatron and Starscream. Personally, I'm more of a Starscream fan, but that's just me. But Soundwave would if I had to create a trinity of the Dreadnoks, whereas like usually these are the three big ones. Soundwave would be the one that would round it out. And of course, we have the Thunder Machine, which was a pretty popular villain vehicle in the G.I. Joe line. It was, I think it was the first Dreadnok vehicle, like the first actual bespoke Dreadnok vehicle. You would think that they would have motorcycles since they were a biker gang, but no, they never actually did a proper Dreadnok motorcycle. They did have something that was called a Dreadnok cycle, but it was more of like a trike with a gunner station on it. So it wasn't really like a proper motorcycle. And we see that this does come with two very popular G.I. Joe characters in Zartan and Zarana. So not just one figure like the other ones that come with. This one comes with two. So that's pretty fancy. So and some people, some purists might complain that the Thunder Machine does not come with its original driver Thrasher. But let's be real, with these crossover vehicles, they're pretty expensive. They want to make sure that that they sell really well. So they're going to put marquee characters in there. It's the same reason that the Striker turned into Bumblebee, even though it would make more sense if it turned into Brawn, because even the color scheme of it, like when you add the yellow of Bumblebee in with the Striker, it just looks like Brawn. Like, so why not make it Brawn? Because Bumblebee is somebody that everybody knows. Like, if you ask somebody to name two Autobots, one of them's going to be Bumblebee. The other one's probably going to be Optimus Prime. So yeah, there's the back of the package, and we see like a layout of everything that comes with it. So not only do we have Soundwave and Zarana and Zartan, but we also have Ravage, who looks like he's in Thunder Machine colors, and shows off some of the features of it. Interestingly enough, this picture of the figures in the cockpit, it looks like Zartan is wearing his mask. So that's kind of funny that they put the mask on him for those pictures. So I'm looking forward to opening this. I've had this for a while. I pre-ordered it on Amazon. I paid it off with gift cards, which is really the only way I could afford something like this because I'm not a rich dude. So like I would not be able to justify dropping this many bones on a toy if I weren't able to do my little gift card trick. Which for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, I do this thing where I earn a lot of gift cards online, like various games and apps and things that I use to earn gift cards online. And what I do is I pre-order something on Amazon, and when you pre-order something on Amazon, then you can go ahead and apply your gift cards to it. So even something like this is fairly expensive. I was able to get it for basically free. So yeah. So something odd I noticed about this is there's kind of a perforation here. I'm not sure what the function of that is for, but I notice it on both sides, both on the front and back. So, and it's like this whole thing is like a sleeve that slides off of it. And I kind of wonder if maybe that's some kind of like legal thing so that they can ensure that these are two separate toy lines. So they're technically in two different box halves that they printed off. I mean, yeah, there's There's a Joe and Transformer stuff on both sides, but one of them is clearly a GI Joe box, and one of them is clearly a Transformers box, even though they're the same box. If that makes any sense. So here we go. GI Joe X Autobot. I guess they just mean that as a general Transformers thing because Soundwave is not an Autobot. Giant Hasbro logo. Blank on this side. So a pretty simple box. Over on this side, it says top secret. Covert intelligence reports that GI Joe transport en route with a formidable escort. Do not underestimate their forces. Terminate the threat like the marauders they are. The Joes are marauders? I guess everybody's the hero of their own story, huh? All right, so we got this cardboard frame in here, and there is Soundwave, and he is a nice large figure. He's going to have to be large because he's going to transform into the Thunder Machine, and we can see some of the iconic Thunder Machine accoutrements on there. Got the Gatling gun with the ammo belt. Oh, there's Ravage. He's going to transform. How exciting is that? And it looks like, is there a button to do it? Yeah, so the button, it doesn't quite pop it open. There we go. I got it now. So yeah, so he'll fit right into his chest, just like the old toy. Got this old cardboard piece here, I guess, to keep his head nice and secure while he's in the package. And then he's got a little bit of Thunder Machine kibble on his back, we can see. But overall, an impressive looking figure, is he not? And then, got them in their cards. We got Zartan, which, of course, the original Zartan was never released on a card here in the United States. They did do a few, I think, foreign releases where he was on the card. And like Fun School in India did their own release of Zartan where he was on the card. But there he is. You notice this one is not, unlike Stalker and the Baroness that I previously opened, this is not an exact reproduction of the original Zartan. I have no idea if he's going to change color in sunlight. I didn't see any indication to that on the package. So I'm guessing not, because that's not something they often do these days. But this piece of artwork, even though Zartan was not on a carded figure, they did make card art for the Zartan figure so they could put it on the backs of the packaging when that figure was originally released, along with all the other figures. So that's where that artwork came from. And if you have the Fun School release of Zartan, which I did, I was able to buy that for pretty cheap back when that was a new toy. And I've still got my Zartan Fun School. It's loose. It's not in the package anymore. But yeah, so that was the artwork they had on that figure too. I don't think it's the best artwork that we've ever seen for GI Joe packaging. And in fact, it's not even very accurate to the toy because you notice he's missing his shoulder armor. But yeah, so, and then we can see his accessories in there. There's the backpack and the laser gun and the mask. And likewise, here's Zarana. And again, she's not exactly a reproduction of the original figure either. Zartan himself has silver armor, whereas the original one had like kind of like translucent armor, and it had like a reflective sticker you could put underneath it that was, I believe it was a color change technology that was triggered by heat. So, and are his leg pieces separate? I wonder if his leg pieces are separate. So I know on the original Zartan, the leg armor would come off rather easily and get lost, which is why I bought several Fun School Zartans at the time, so that I could take the leg armor and put it on my original Zartan. It's not exactly the same armor because it was solid black instead of being clear, but whatever. But there's Zarana and her Weed Whacker. And the most notable difference between this and the original Zarana is that she doesn't have her shoulder armor. And you can see on the package, they altered the art so she doesn't have the shoulder armor. And she does have a tattoo, which this figure does indeed have. So we'll open those in a little bit. We're going to do Soundwave first. And yeah, I've had this figure for a while, and I haven't opened it yet because I knew that this episode was going to be rather involved, and I wanted the time to really devote to it. And since I woke up a little early this morning and couldn't get back to sleep, I figured now would be a good time to go ahead and do it. And I just had that X-Acto knife. You could play a fun game with keeping track of like how many times on this show I lose my X-Acto knife. It's probably not good to use like a razor sharp cutting implement, even though this hasn't been razor sharp in quite some time. This is an old blade on here. It's still sharp enough to cut through these stupid rubber tabs there. So there we go. We got the Soundwave off of the card. And like I said, he's an impressive looking figure. He does have some bits of kibble. You can see like the Trans Am front is attached to his wrist. And there are like some hollow bits on here. Like basically they had to make some compromises in terms of making Soundwave into a figure that can transform into a vehicle that other figures can ride in. Like anybody who's had Transformers can tell you, like usually when they transform, there's not a whole lot of room in the cockpit left because a lot of times that's where you fold in a lot of the robot parts. So you know, wherever your cockpit, your cabin, or whatever you want to call it in whatever context. So, and he's got a lot more red on him than Soundwave ever had. I mean, like Soundwave usually didn't have red except for like some various accent points, like say at the wrist here, for example. But since he's a Thunder Machine, he's got a lot more red stuck on him. His lower legs, if you look at the back, they're almost entirely red back there. So, and his feet are red, even though he like really should have like silver feet. Like if you wanted it to be accurate to the original Soundwave. So, oh, there's another rubber band on here. It's holding the all wrapped up with the canopy and the head, and I'm just gonna cut it. There we go. Now hopefully I can get it out of there a lot easier. So much rubber crap. So okay, let's go ahead and we're gonna put some of the accessories on him, since I'm going to turn him into vehicle mode because we all want to see him transform into vehicle mode, right? So I'm gonna, before I do that, I'm gonna put the guns on him so that we can see what he looks like with the guns. Let's go ahead and get Ravage off there while I'm thinking about it. So I'm guessing this is probably a repaint of some previous Ravage toy. If you're a Transformers expert and you know, let me know in the comments. That would be nice. So I kind of doubt they would go and produce an entirely new Ravage figure because I know that they would have access to various updated versions of Ravage that they could go ahead and use. Oh, by the way, it does come with instructions. We're not going to be using the instructions because I like a challenge when it comes to my Transformers. And I haven't bought a Transformer in a really long time. The last Transformer that I bought was it was another one of the G.I. Joe crossovers with Bumblebee. So I've never been like the biggest collector of Transformers. Like sometimes if they have a line out that I'm really excited, then I would collect those. And I do have, I think, a rather large collection of Optimus Prime because I really like Optimus Prime. He's my favorite character in Transformers, so I tend to buy cool Optimus Prime figures when I see them. So let's see. So this piece here, I believe, is supposed to be the equivalent of the cannon that sits on his shoulder. We check the artwork on the box. Yes, indeed, we do have that set up on the shoulder. And sharp-eyed viewers, I'm sure, recognize this as being the engine of the Thunder Machine. So we'll go ahead and plant that up there. And there's a little peg you can see, and like this rectangular piece. It looks like a trailer hitch. So I'm guessing that looks like it flips down. That'll become the trailer hitch on the Thunder Machine. We put that all together, I think. So, but there's a little rectangular space here. So we're supposed to fit that in this way with the peg there, and the hitch fits into the little rectangular space. And there is a matching space over on the other side. So it'll all fit together on the other side if you want to. It says danger on there. So we're going to have some of those fun G.I. Joe decals that I like so much. So you could put it on the other side if you wanted to. I don't know if you would want to, because then it would be in the way of the button and you wouldn't be able to inject Ravage. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, since Ravage is still folded up, let's go ahead and do that. Let's put Ravage into the set deck. Hopefully he'll fit in there. And voila. Ravage, eject. And then he can pop out and transform into a dog, a panther. I don't know. He's a pant dog. Okay, so we'll set that aside again for now. And then we have the actual Gatling gun that goes onto the front of the Thunder Machine. And it seems to be missing something. I would think that it would have. Ah, here we go. A little pink bag on the back. Because it's not the whole Gatling gun. There was something missing, I could tell. All right, so here's some of the other accessories. There's an antenna, a frequently lost piece with the original Thunder Machine, and what I feel like is one of the most oh, there's some mouse in here. Maybe I should have ate something. My stomach's growling. So we got a chain and a leash so they can walk Ravage, take him outside and make sure he does his BMs. And oh, we got a knife for him. That's pretty cool. Set that aside. Where is the other Gatling gun? It fell on the ground. This is why I hate the paper packaging. Because since I didn't see it in there, I'm like, did they even send it to me? All right, so these can only go in here one way because there's like a little rectangular slot on either side here for the Gatling gun barrels to go into. And the Gatling gun was always one of my favorite parts of the original Thunder Machine. To me, that was like the most distinctive thing about it, was those the twin Gatling guns. I dropped it on the floor. And it rolled under my couch. And it's one of those things where, like, it rolls under your couch, and it's in just that right spot where your finger can touch it, but all it can do is roll it back further under the couch. So this is going to be a little awkward for me to try to get down here. Oh, you. There's a Fortnite gun. There we go. I got it now. This is a really tight fit. Getting these Gatling gun barrels into the housing, which hopefully means they won't come out easily, because I don't want them to come out easily, especially after I struggled to get them in. So, and like with the original one, we can kind of roll the belt around, and when you roll the belt around, it causes the Gatling guns to spin. So that's cool. And we can see there are two little pegs at the bottom. And where will that fit? He can hold it in his hand. So I guess what you're supposed to do is just stick one of these in his hand. Is that what they did on the package? Yep, that's what it looks like they did on the package. So, and since there's one on either side, if you wanted him to hold it in his left hand, he can hold it by the other peg. So that's what he looks like with all of those accessories. And now we got this knife, big old combat knife. Now I seem to vaguely remember, and it's been a while since I got the original Soundwave. That would have been back in the 80s. I seem to remember that one came with kind of a sword. So that's probably a nice homage to that. So there he is with the knife. And I'm wondering if there's some place to store that knife as far as somewhere on the figure, like a little sheath or something. It seems like the kind of thing you would have. Looking it over. You see what I was talking about where I said this was going to be an involved episode? Well, so, oh, and here's where the antenna is supposed to go. But that seems like an awkward place to have an antenna on a robot. So it'd be nice if there was a way to swing that around and get it out of the way. But no, he's just gonna have a rod sticking out of his butt. It's just gonna happen. So yeah, I would have liked to have had a sheath to put this knife on, and there probably is a way to hide it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and look at the instructions real quick. I'm gonna try to avoid looking at anything on how to transform the character, but I just want to see if there's any indication as to a storage space for the knife when he's in vehicle mode. So I'm just looking it over real quick. I'm not seeing anything about it though. I'm sure there is, but I'm trying not to pay any attention to the instructions on how to transform him. I want to figure that out myself. So but I'm not seeing anything indicated. I don't want to look too closely. I'll look after I transform it and see if there's a way to hide those bits. So that's what he looks like when he's a robot and he's all geared up. Pretty cool. So I've been talking about this for 20 minutes already, and we're not even close to done. Like I said, this is a long video. So, okay, so we're going to take this out and set it aside for now. We're going to take this out and set it aside for now. And normally I don't like it when you have to take parts off and set them aside in Transformers. I feel like that's cheating. I was really disappointed with the original Starscream figure that you just kind of take his hands off and set them aside. To me, that was kind of lame. But at least with this one, like, you're taking off these vehicle parts and you're transforming them into weapons. So to me, not ideal, but still, I can give it a pass. So that's just my opinion. So let's go ahead and see if we can transform him into his robot or into his vehicle mode. And the head folds in just like that. So far, so good. And then all this stuff, this all is on like this hinge system. So the arms kind of swing around like this. And remember those rectangular indents I was talking about? Oops, I kind of popped something. I didn't mean to pop. I think I was supposed to pop. I just didn't mean to pop it. Not yet. But yeah, you can see how like those rectangular indentations I was talking about, that fits in there nicely. And I did not put the Thunder Machine, the what do you call it? The thing in the front. Where did I put them? The thing that looks like a soccer goal. I did not put that on the. Here it is. It's in two separate pieces. So I think you're supposed to leave it on when you transform him back into a robot. But I didn't bother to put it on because it's just kibble when he's in the robot mode. I didn't really care. So I'm pretty sure that's how that's supposed to fold in like that. But once we do that, then, well, no, this is supposed to turn around this way. And then that's supposed to turn around that way. Ah, okay. See, this is what I'm talking about. I like to figure stuff like this out. I don't want to look at the instructions. You know, I'd be like, oh, it'd be a lot easier if you look at the instructions. I'm not looking for easy. I'm wanting to figure it out myself. That's part of the fun. Kind of what I like about Transformers as toys is that, like, even though they're fairly expensive for a toy the size that they are, it seemingly you get a lot of bang for your buck because it's like it's a car and it's a robot and it's a puzzle. So you have to figure out how everything fits together, and I think that that's pretty cool. So, and then we can see the front of the Thunder Machine looks pretty plain, but then we remember the Gatling gun's going to go on there, so that's going to help with that. I'm going to flip this up because I think that'll make this a little easier. So it looks like his feet are the seats of the vehicle. How about that? So that's why those are red, in case you were wondering. And it looks like this is on kind of a hinged system, like the front part was. So it goes that way, folds up that way. Okay, we're figuring it out. Oh, and these parts flip down because that's the continuation of the sides of the vehicle where the doors would normally be. But I don't think there's necessarily doors on this particular vehicle. So obviously, this is supposed to flip around this way. If I've got it, but how is that supposed to fit in there? Is anything here? Ah, that was the thing that I popped open accidentally earlier. So that's going to do something. And these flip around. This seems like, though, something that would be there more for the ease of the transformation than anything else. Or maybe to help hide the joints in the articulation. All right, so this stuff all fits together like so. That's the outside of the vehicle. This is where the motor is going to go, I think. And it looks like you're supposed to wedge that in while you're transforming it. I think that's what you're supposed to do anyway. I should flip out the trailer hitch first. So it does not seem like a very good place to put a trailer hitch, though, does it? So are these pieces going to fit in there? Oh, this piece flips up. Okay. Okay, now it's starting to make a lot more sense. Okay. So that's all I had to do was flip that piece up. And of course there's that little bit of hinge there. So I should be able to set that aside. I don't even have extra stuff in my hands right now. I have a place to put that. I got all that stuff set up from that action figure that I'm painting. Come on, you. Once I get this transformed a few times back and forth, it'll be pretty easy for me to, I think, remember how to transform it going forward. But for now, I'm still having to figure it out. Okay, so I got that all latched together. And I'm guessing this should be at the bottom here, a little more even. I hope you guys are enjoying watching me struggle with this. But I'm not sure how all this is supposed to, because the legs don't seem to want to fold up that way. maybe if I turn them this way. Ah. So you got to have the legs turned on that direction. And there's a little tab here that's supposed to hold this steady, but I think it's more of a guide than like an actual thing that is supposed to hold it together. Well, that's got to swing around that way. Oh boy. There we go. Is that going to do it? Do we fit his legs together down there? I just knocked the canopy off. We're just going to set that aside because I think that's going to help with the ease of the transformation. So I don't think that that's supposed to. Okay, I think I got it figured out now. So we got to have it spun around this way. I'm probably making this like overly complicated for myself. I've probably spun these legs around several times. So there is like a little peg and a hole there. You can see. So that's how that's supposed to link together. And then the lower legs are supposed to link together here. There we go. Make sure that that's back down because that kind of got knocked back up. And this is on a little bit of a pivot because that's where the legs are. So once we got all that put together, I should be able to swing that down and hopefully it should all fit together at that point. But it's still kind of hung up on something. What are you hung up on? Well, this piece isn't down all the way for one thing. I make sure it's clicked into place. And it seems like this should come down a little lower because that's where the wheels are. Is there anything that I'm missing as far as that goes? I'll get it figured out. Don't worry about it. But the knees can only swing up so far once you've got that on there. Maybe, no? Maybe you need to have those tilted around a certain way. But I don't see any kind of peg that's supposed to hold the thighs together, just at the knees. Okay, so get this twisted back around. Get that peg back in. And maybe you can get it to fold up. Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something because maybe the leg's supposed to move up, but I can't really get it to do that because it's tilted around that way. Maybe you got to have it turned around this way. It would have been nice if they put some kind of guide peg onto the thighs so I could tell which way the thighs are supposed to be turned. But I think I got it now. I would imagine there would be something for it to click into. This is almost always something for. Yeah, there's a little slot in the right here on this side of the console where the seat's supposed to fit into. And I'm pretty sure it's not like it's not a situation where the it's supposed to click in there. It's just supposed to kind of hold it in there. Man, this assembly is being kind of a pain. Oh, can I turn it in that way? I don't know if that's gonna help. Hmm. No, it definitely needs to be out. Because that way it's going to have the length to because the running board's got to fit in there. What am I missing here? I just don't know which way to have the thighs turned, I think is the thing. Now you see why I wanted to have time to shoot this video, because I knew it was going to be a long one. There we go. I think I got that figured out now. So we want to have the kind of the hollow side of the thighs, I think, turned up that way. And they got to be turned up a little bit. And then we got to get the knees together. It's all rather complex. Oh, I broke this part off. Well, it's not broken, but I popped it off. You can pop it back on. But it seems like the sort of thing where it's probably easier to pop it off than pop it on. How frustrating. And you're just going to be one of those things where you just don't want to get on there exactly. Come on. When you get it to the point where you get one piece to fit in, but then the other one pops off. And that peg at the knee, it's just not wanting to go in. No, you're in. Stay in. What are you hung up on now? Let's put this over here with the other crap that keeps falling off. The other one did this just fine. Why are you not doing this just fine? What am I missing? I must be missing something. It's not going in there right. There we go. Okay. And then we can go ahead and put the knees together. Supposedly, allegedly. But it keeps wanting to come just barely apart. Let's see if I can get this hinge back in here now. That'll help add some stability. There we go. It clicked in pretty easily that time. And there we go. It's transformed, mostly. So I do feel like this part's sticking up a little bit more than it probably should. There we go. We got it in shape. So that's mostly the Thunder Machine. That's the body of the Thunder Machine. So, but we got a few more parts we got to put onto it, obviously. And the front of the vehicle, try to get that aligned a little bit better because I can see where there's the. There we go. There. Now I think I've got it perfect as far as the front goes. Got that Trans Am front. That was something I noticed when I was looking over the box when I first got this. Is there's actually this little holographic logo on here with a QR code on it, and it says GM, and it says Chevrolet, the bow tie logo, Corvette, the Corvette logo, and Camaro are registered trademarks of General Motors. So it's nice that they acknowledge that and everything, but this is not a Corvette, it's a Trans Am. And it does not have a bow tie logo on it because it's not a Corvette, it's a Trans Am. It's got the Pontiac logo on there because it's a Trans Am. So somebody was asleep at the wheel. Anyway, I got the peg here for this, and that's where the chiller slots in. And yeah, I guess I was right. That was supposed to. We were supposed to do all this while we were putting it together because now it's going to be kind of a pain to fit it in there. I think. Yeah. Could be worse. There we go. Okay. So there we go. We got that all assembled. feel like that should click down a little bit more, though. There we go. And now it's starting to look like a thunder machine, isn't it? So we got this part that fell off when I was trying to put it together. And I was just like, screw it, leave it off. We'll put it back on when we put back together. But technically, it's supposed to stay on when you're transforming it. But it ain't always going to be like that, is there? So, and then the roll bar should fit into these little holes here. The pegs at the end of the roll bar should fit in there nicely. And last but not least, we still got a couple more parts to put on here. One is my beloved Gatling gun. Where did I put the Gatling gun? There it is. So that is pretty neat. Oh, and I popped off the front piece. I guess I noticed that. So there we go. And then we got the this thing. You know, I called it like a soccer goal earlier, but now that I think about it, Thrasher was a lacrosse player. Oh, hi, Aunt June, you're back. You have been busy. I have been busy. I hadn't even noticed you'd comment because I was so focused on that thing. So, but at least I saw it now. So yeah, so there we got the roll cage. But what I was gonna say was Thrasher, who is the original driver of the Thunder Machine, was of course a lacrosse player. All of his weapon and his armor, it was supposed to be lacrosse pads. So that makes me think this is probably actually a lacrosse goal. So I guess Thrasher's got something in common with Sterling Archer, doesn't he? Maybe if they do a new G.I. Joe cartoon, they could get H. John Benjamin to do the voice of Thrasher. So, but there is our completed Thunder Machine. It's all put together. You were watching Christmas movies. What Christmas movies were you watching? Because like I've only had time to watch one this December, and I watched the George C. Scott version of A Christmas Carol, because that's free to watch on YouTube, by the way. So if you're looking for one to watch and you haven't watched that one, that's free on YouTube. So yeah, now that we've got our Thunder Machine completed, put together, transformed, and it does look not exactly like the original Thunder Machine toy, but I think close enough to it. Let's go ahead and move on from our Decepticon to our Cobra characters, our Dreadnoks. You know, like the Dreadnoks are kind of like Cobra adjacent. So, as the old adage goes, ladies first, let's open Zarana. I can never settle between Zarana or Zarana. You're going to hear me pronounce it both ways. But go ahead and read her file card real quick. Like I said, she's not an official member of the Cobra faction, so it says Zarana, the enemy. It says the enemy on her file card. It's not say she's a member of Cobra, because technically she wasn't supposed to be. She did eventually become like a high-ranking Cobra official in the comics, though. So says role Dreadnok mercenary, known associates Zartan and Xandar, brothers. You notice Xandar did not come with this set. Nobody remembers Xandar. Animated Christmas movies, A Christmas Carol. Wow. Which Christmas Carol? Which animated A Christmas? There's so many adaptations of A Christmas Carol. Like I said, I watched that George C. Scott one. I like that one. I like the Muppet Christmas Carol. I like Mickey's Christmas Carol. I like Scrooge with Bill Murray. That's a good one. The one that Henry Winkler did in the 70s, An American Christmas Carol. That one's pretty good. You got like, of course, like the classics ones with like Alistair Sim and stuff like that. But like some of the newer ones, like there was a Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, and there was the Patrick Stewart one. But yeah, like I had the record of Mickey's Christmas Carol, and I would listen to that thing constantly when I was a kid around Christmas time. So got a lot of affection for that version. Oh, we were going to read the file card. I got distracted. So yeah, no associates, Xandar and Zartan, birthplace unknown, Zarana is a professional assassin who gains access to her victims through skillful acting and masterful use of makeup and disguise. Oh, you did watch the George C. Scott one. Yeah, that one's good. I like that one. That would have been, when I was a kid, that would have been the first, like, proper version of A Christmas Carol I'd ever seen. Like, I'd seen, like, the Mickey's Christmas Carol, like I said, and I'd seen Rich Little's Christmas Carol. That one also is free to watch on YouTube, by the way. Figure stand fell out of the package. Every figure should come with a figure stand. So, but yeah, so that one I got a lot of affection for, and it's a really good adaptation with a really great cast. You got like David Warner and Michael Gough, and Roger Rees is in that one. Really good cast. So there's her backpack, which I think the backpack was red with the original Zarana, was it not? But no, this one is black. So, and it does seem to be made out of not the kind of plastic they usually make a backpack out of. I'm gonna guess it's probably they made it at the same time as they made the gun, so it's probably the same plastic. And when I say gun, I mean this loosely. My friend Bob refers to it as a weed whacker. Kind of hard to argue that point. I suspect that the character of Zarana was inspired by Wendy O. Williams. And if you look at the artwork on the package, the portrait of Zarana it looks pretty close to Wendy O. And I know that Larry Hama was a fan of the Plasmatics, and he gave them quite a few shout outs in the comics, like well before Zarana came along. So it would not surprise me if maybe when they were trying to come up with new characters, if Larry was kind of like, hey, maybe Zartan has a sister that's kind of like Wendy O. Maybe we could do something like that. So here she is out of the package, and I don't believe this is the original sculpt of Zarana or any of the original molds. I think they probably recreated a lot of this stuff, especially because, like, when I'm looking at her hair, originally, like, the front piece of her hair was like a separate piece, and to me this looks like it might actually be like one solid piece here, because I can actually see where, like, there's a little bit of paint overspill on just a very little bit, just like a little hairline of it onto her forehead. And she is kind of chunky, like O-ring female figures tend to be, but not overly so. They did put a little effort into making her look a little smaller and more compact than a male figure. Most of the chunkiness is in her arms, and because these could pretty much be male arms. I don't think the original Gung Ho's arms were much bigger than that. Uh, but it is based on the original Zarana head sculpt, but I don't think it's the same mold. And it looks like she's got holes for earrings. Is that holes or is that painted in there? Kind of hard to tell. Let me get a toothpick. See if I can stick a toothpick in there. Nope, it's just painted on. Little brown earrings. I guess they're supposed to be gauges or something. And she does have, like I said, the tattoo. They tampographed a little tattoo on there. It probably would have been better to give her the shoulder armor, because that way that it would help hide the fact that her arms are probably a lot larger than they need to be. This is kind of one of the reasons I wasn't too excited about going back to the O-ring style. I kind of feel like as much as I love the original G.I. Joe figures with the O-rings, I kind of feel like their time has passed. And maybe if they could incorporate like some of the elements of the more modern figures, like if she had more like the injected molded arms with it and have to worry about the pins and everything, making them a lot more bulky, kind of a best of both worlds approach. But of course they didn't do that. And I noticed that like her forearms are painted, like it's black plastic that's painted flesh color. And you can, I think, tell a little bit the differences between the flesh colors on the forearm and the upper arm there. But believe me, the camera is not doing it justice. There is a lot more contrast there than there should be. So, and of course, the newer ones have like more rubbery hands, so I can more easily fit her weapon into her hand and fit her backpack onto her back. But honestly, I don't think even Zartan has the same uh, shoulder armor. But we'll get into that in a minute. But there's Zarana all geared up. That's what she looks like with everything on there. So I'm gonna set her aside for now, and then we'll move on to her brother Zartan, one of my favorite GI Joe characters. I actually used to cosplay as Zartan back in the day, and it's a pretty easy costume to throw together, but it's a very effective costume if you get it just right. So and yeah, I think his forearms are different because I'll talk about that more when I open the figure. So see Zartan the enemy, but unlike Zarana, he's got a GI Joe faction symbol on the back of his file card on the portrait section there. But that's how it was on the original figure, like at least on some runs of it. Uh, Role mercenary, primary specialty infiltration, secondary specialty disguise. So birthplace unknown. Zartan is a master of makeup and disguise, a ventriloquist, a linguist, but he's a cunning linguist. Uh, I forget sick of that joke. An acrobatic contortionist, a practitioner of several mystic martial arts, and a sword maker and an archer. If you read the comic book, you know that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and get Zartan out of the package. I do believe that a lot of the paint choices that were made with this figure, he's got green eyes, and I do believe that he is supposed to more resemble Zartan as he appeared in the animated series, the Sunbow animated series, than he is the original Zartan figure, which I'm fine with. I would rather have figures that aren't exact reproductions of the original figures that I already have, with the exception of Stalker. I was happy to have a newer version of Stalker just because, like the original Stalker, the light green plastic they used on him is particularly brittle with age, and I'm hoping that the crossover Stalker that we have will be much more resistant to that. So take a different approach, so I don't want anything falling on the floor this time. So, and there is the figure stand. Every figure should come with a figure stand. I'm even going to see it for when I open two figures in the same review. And then I'm going to first take out the laser gun because I don't want to lose that, and it's a tiny little piece. So I'm going to set that over here on my coffee table. And then the mask. There we go. So there's the mask and the backpack. And I mentioned in my review of the classified Zartan, and this is more like the old school one where like the hinge is, part of the same plastic, and it's already got stress marks on it. And I'm probably not going to open and close this too much because I don't want to damage it too much. So we're just going to do it the once on this video, and then I'm going to leave it as such. But yeah, the classified figure had a lot of technological details on the inside of it. Oh, got the screw on the back. There we go. But like it was supposed to be set up like the backpack was kind of a 3D printer, and it would print out the masks as he needed them. So yeah, there is Zartan out of the package. You can even see on the camera, even though I can't get it to focus that well, you can see the green eyes, like the animated series. So, which I always thought he looked really cool in the animated series, even though they weren't really sure as to whether or not this was a hood or hair. It is indeed supposed to be a hood. I will die on that hill. So, on the original Zartan figure, this piece was removable, but it seems to be on here like really snugly, and I'm kind of wondering if I can even get it off. Yeah, okay, there we go. It is removable. And there we can see Zartan's bare chest. And like I said, on the original figure, this piece would have been translucent. And it is kind of translucent, but it's really more silver. But it's kind of translucent in the way that silver plastic is sometimes translucent. When I hold it up to the light, I can definitely see through it. And it does still have the little metal, the little rectangle in there where the clear window would be. And on the original figure, there was like a color changing sticker that you would put in there. And whereas Zartan would change color in sunlight, the sticker would change color from heat. So if it was a hot day outside, it would change color, or if you hit it with a hairdryer or something. And those stickers are so fragile that even to lose Zartan without him is still considered a complete, because everybody's just kind of like, yeah, those stickers just are not going to survive. It's kind of the same thing as the Starfleet sticker on the Mego Star Trek figures. It's like people tend to give it a pass if that thing's missing just because it's so delicate. So, and these are indeed new arms that have been designed for this version of Zartan, because the older one had the shoulder armor that went all the way down to the swivel arm battle grip joint. So this is a newly designed. I'm not sure if that was for aesthetic reasons or what, but I think it looks cool, so I'm not going to complain. And again, this isn't supposed to be an exact reproduction of the original Zartan figure. This is supposed to be kind of a little more in the animated vein. So I'm glad to have it because it's close enough to the original figure that I don't have to mess around with my original figure anymore. I can just use this one instead. so and I'm just dreading the day that the O-ring dry rots off of my original Zartan, because the original Zartan, because the color changing plastic, the torso is sealed together. So unlike with other GI Joes where you can unscrew them and replace the O-ring, once Zartan loses an O-ring, that's it. So unless somebody's figured out a way to do it since last time I checked. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about his accessories some. And first, I want to talk about the mask, because I want to get that out of the way. Got a mask that just snaps onto his face. The hood holds it in place, and there he is with his disguise mask. And he was supposed to be just like some old junk peddler in the swamp. You could take apart the chameleon and put it into like a little towing box with skis on it. So like he was a junk peddler. But everybody says that this guy looks like Jesus. That's the general consensus, is that Zartan just disguised himself as Jesus. So I don't know if Jesus is what they were going for, but when people see it, they say Jesus. Jesus, that looks like Jesus. So the mask should fit into this little area here. There we go. It fell out. It fell out onto the floor where I have like a whole stack of boxes, and I have no idea where it would have went. So it did not stay in there as snugly as I would have liked. But thankfully I was able to find it. So here we go. I'm going to put the mask in there. And so I'm not going to tilt it towards the camera this time, because I thought it would have stayed in there properly, but it didn't. But you can see it resting in there. And then I'm going to close this forever and never open it again. But it doesn't seem like the latch catches as well as with the old figure. So it might just open up on its own. Who knows? So we can plug that into his back. And since the modern figure had the idea that he 3D prints the mask in this, I'm gonna grandfather that backwards into the original figure and say that he's carrying around a 3D printer on his back so he can print out masks. That's I've decided that's my headcanon now. That's how that works. And it does look like that they painted his forearms. I'm guessing the gloves to chip, because sometimes the paint tends to chip off of GI Joe hands. So but it does look like, for whatever reason, the paint looks like it's more consistent with the Caucasian flesh of the elbow joint than it was on Zarana. And there he is holding his laser. So there is Zartan all put together, and put him on the figure stand so we can. There we go, Zartan. And go ahead and get Zarana. And here are the brother and sister duo. Is there anybody missing? Seems like there's somebody missing. Seems like they forgot somebody. All right, so there's still one more piece that we got to deal with, and that's Ravage. So we're going to transform Ravage from his robot mode into his animal mode. And this is going to be a little more complex, I think, than the original Ravage that I remember from when I was a kid. And like I said, I kind of suspect, I don't know if this is the case, and surely somebody who knows a little bit more about Transformers could tell me. And if you're watching in the comments, go ahead and tell me. Uh, I suspect this is probably a repaint of one of the more modern versions of Ravage. There we go. Oh, his tail's got to flip out. Nice straight tail that we remember from the original Ravage. And then this flips down. And his feet flip all around. More than meets the eye. And you can see these silver pieces painted onto his hips, which on the original Ravage, that would have been separate pieces that we would have attached. Okay. It seems like this is supposed to flip up and around somehow, but I can't figure out how that's supposed to work. And I just popped off his shoulder. A lot of these more modern Transformers figures, they're more kind of set up to fall apart than to break, so that's good. So I do remember a lot of the Transformers toys that I had when I was a kid were quite delicate. So it looks like that's supposed to fit. That panel's supposed to fit on the inside, and I just popped off that piece because the flat of the feet is supposed to go down there. And I don't believe that this is the same Ravage that's on the packaging. Because that Ravage, when I was looking at it, looked almost more like a slug, like a figurine of Ravage. No, no, it's got joints on it. So I'm probably missing something on how to transform him because it seems to me like he should be a little more substantial as far as the body of it goes. But yeah, when I was looking at it on the package, I thought it almost looked more like a figurine of Ravage. But no, it actually is like jointed and articulated and everything. So that's pretty cool. So, but I still wonder if I've got him transformed correctly because it just seems like the whole middle part there, like it's on a joint here, so that would seem to suggest maybe it's just an articulation. I don't know. But yeah, and then he's got the little leash thing, so that should fit around his neck. And now Zarana can take him out for walkies. It shows Zartan doing that on the packaging, but no, he's going to make his sister do it. She's going to grumble about it the entire time. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and transform him back into his cassette mode because I want to store the cassette on the figure. The actually store it on sound inside of Soundwave, I should say. So and then that piece flipped off again. But he seems to be a pretty simple transformation. Yay! Mm, it might have been easier to transform him into a robot than to transform him into a cassette. All right, so that piece is supposed to swing out that way. We got to put the tail back in. And there we go with all of that. So flip around that. And the feet fit back into there. When he transforms into a cassette, it's just kind of like he transforms into a block that's kind of vaguely shaped like a cassette. Hmm, what am I missing? This is not the most exciting part of the video, I'm sure. But it's just a matter of figuring out how everything fits back together. So these pieces are going to flip around like that. And then, well, I guess we'll fold his head in last. I think that'll probably be the easiest way to do that. But yeah, that's why the older Transformers would have like stickers. Like it would have like a sticker that would or at least a series of stickers that would fit together on the back to make it look a little more like a cassette. Like the way that a cassette would actually have labels on it, so you could write whatever you recorded on there. What a lot of people don't realize about the original Soundwave is that he wasn't supposed to be like a boom box or something like that. He was supposed to be like a mini cassette recorder, like the sort of thing you see like a recorder use in like in movie from like the 70s or the 80s with like a little mini cassette recorder. But most of us as a kid just thought of it as being like a boom box, like you would listen to Prince or something, Michael Jackson, the kind of stuff we were listening to in the 80s. The Footloose soundtrack. That was something I remember a lot of the kids liking around that time. And then the head splits in half and fits in there like so. And there we have him back in cassette mode, which that probably took me a few more minutes to figure out than it probably should have. But, and even still, it's not fitting together ideally. So I'm probably like just being sloppy with it. But there we go. So now that we got it back together, he does still have uh, where the we can access the tape deck in there, so we can put Ravage in there for storage, and there we go. So one last thing we got to do, since this is a vehicle, is fit the figures into the vehicle, because otherwise, what do you have a vehicle for? This isn't like a regular transformer. This is one with figures that's supposed to fit inside of it. So I'm going to take Zartan's accessories off, and we'll take him off the figure stand. And I'm going to have to put all that back together. So I'm going to have him on his stand for display. And we put him into a seated position, and we fit him into the Thunder Machine. And it looks like it's going to be a tight fit. I want to bend his knees up a little bit. That might help. There we go. And hopefully we won't lose the steering wheel. The steering wheel is another part of the original Thunder Machine that's very easily lost. Is he in there all the way? His head's hitting the roof. And I can't quite get his booty to fit into the seat. There doesn't seem to be enough leg room for him. Even with the legs kind of bent like I got them. I gotta bend them all the way. I'd heard some people say they could fit modern era figures into this thing, but oh, there's more running boards you can flip up. You didn't notice that. So you can have other Dreadnoks right alongside on the running board, like they're Doc Savage or something. So yeah, allegedly the figure is supposed to fit in here, but I'm just having a hard time getting him to go. I think he's in there about as well as he's going to get. So we're going to put Zarana in there now. Take out her accessories and set them aside. And I even took off the backpack to give this guy a little bit of extra room. But there we go. So I just got a whole pile of their accessories over there. And I'll go ahead and bend her legs up all the way and get her curled up into a little ball. Maybe then she'll fit in there. Come on, Zarana, get in there. You can do this. Just not a lot of leg room. That's just all there is to it. And if I can peg the canopy, the roll bar back into place. So yeah, they fit in there just fine. You just got to kind of crunch them up. And then we can close the doors. And there is our Thunder Machine with Zartan and Zarana safely ensconced inside. And I can fire the machine guns at G.I. Joe. And probably Stalker and the Bumblebee Awe Striker combo, since that's the only G.I. Joe vehicle we've had out of this so far. And supposedly they're coming out with Sergeant Slaughter and the Triple T tank, which will turn into Cup. Which, what I was seeing about marquee characters, Cup is probably the most obscure character from either G.I. Joe or Transformers that I've seen in this line so far. And even then, Cup was a guy who at least had a major role in the movie. So it's not like people have never heard of Cup, but he's not exactly Optimus Prime, is what I'm saying. So the figures I think that come with that, like I said, is Sergeant Slaughter, and who not only is a famous GI Joe but a famous wrestler, probably more well known as a wrestler even than a GI Joe. And I think Leatherneck was the other one. So pretty cool. So yeah, but that's the Transformers Thunder Machine. This has been a long episode. It's been 1 hour and 13 minutes that I've been talking about this thing. So if you stuck around for the whole episode, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you give it a like and subscribe and hit the little bell and all that fun stuff. But we're going to call it a day as far as the Thunder Machine / Soundwave goes. I think that's everything I have to say about that. Tomorrow I'm going to be back with another episode of Batman the Animated Series, and I might have another toy to unbox. Who knows? But maybe I'll watch a Christmas movie like Aunt June did, because it's time for me to relax for a bit, I think. So we will talk to you next time. Bye. Okay. Oh, is it still going? Why are you still going?